Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So today we're going to look at a half kneeling continuum to improve hip extension, and we're going to discuss what hip extension looks like in this position. All right, so if we're looking at half kneeling, just straight half kneeling, I'm just using the pad here to take a little pressure out of the knee. We want to think about where's our head in relation to our shoulders, relation to the hip, relation to the knee. So ideally we're looking for as stacked of a line as we can, ear, shoulder, outer hip, and knee. So that would be what hip extension is. So if we think about the pelvis and if it's kind of tipping forward here, or even if that knee is way back and we're thinking like we're getting this extension through the hip here, if we don't have an idea of a straight line going from all of those points, then we're really not getting the hip extension that we're looking for. All right, so it's helpful to think about what's going on at the pelvis more than what's going on at the knee when we're thinking about getting the hip to extend. All right, so when we want to get extension at the pelvis, we got these two bones in the front here, the ASIS. We want them to be able to relatively come closer together. So this is where a good exhale comes in, that we're exhaling, drawing in, and feeling that these two bones are able to approximate as much as possible. We also want to think about what's going on with this back foot. So if I start moving that back foot across, that's going to keep this bone out and open, so I'm not going to be able to compress as much. So the more I get compression here, the more I'm going to tend to internally rotate, which is going to couple with more hip extension. All right, so I want that. The other bone to think about in the pelvis would be the sit bone here, the ischial tuberosity. I want that to be pulling down towards the back of the knee. That's where the hamstring attaches. The hamstring is a hip extender, so I want that to be as active as possible, keeping me basically anchored into this position, because your body's going to want to go this way, where I'm in the same position of kneeling, but I've totally changed the relationship at the hip and the pelvis here. All right, so sit bone pulls down to the back of the knee. The foot's either going to be slightly outside of the knee or in line, and then I'm trying to get these front bones forward. So just doing this in this half kneeling position should give you a little bit of a stretch response here, a little bit of a muscle activation response here. You might even feel the inner thigh a little bit, which is a good cue that you haven't lost the position of your pelvis and opened too much in the front. All right, so those muscle references are going to be really important before trying to make this any harder. So the way we make it harder is we go shin against the pillar. All right, so I'm going to put my shin against the pillar here, and then I'm going to creep my front leg forward till the shin is perpendicular to the ground. Once I get there, I want to make sure that I have things compressed and stable. So I'm going to just keep my hands on the ground, framing this foot. All right, the focus here is on this back leg. So my shin is completely vertical and flush against this pillar here. From here, I have to see what's going on with my glute in relation to my heel. All right, I want to make sure that I can feel that sit bone move to the back of the knee. I want to make sure I can feel those ASIS compressed forward. And then I'm going to kick my shin into the pillar to continue to move my glute away from the heel. All right, so there's this constant idea of sit bone to the back of the knee, pelvis compressing in the front, while the glute is moving farther and farther away from the heel. This knee I don't want to move forward. So as I think about bringing my glute away from the heel, I don't want to just lunge forward. I want to keep this foot anchored. That's why I got my hands here for now. I'm compressing my belly to this side. So it's more just about this leg, feeling the muscle activity here. Once I feel I can do that pretty well, I can engage the hamstring glute on this side. I feel the stretch here. I can start progressing by going from hands to the ground, or you can be hands on yoga blocks, to forearms on thigh. Nothing changes back here. I'm still trying to think sit bone to the back of the knee, still trying to compress the ASISs toward each other as I take a nice exhale here. Okay, if I can do that, now I can reach forward here, still trying to feel this glute's moving away from this heel. All right, and then I can start bringing my arms up a little bit. I don't want to get so tall that the butt moves back towards the heel though. All right, because then I've lost all of the work I've done into hip extension, and it turns into something else at that point. All right, so if we start down here, we're thinking sit bone to the back of the knee, we're engaging the hamstring and glute. Okay, then we move up to here, still keeping that same essence in the hip, and then we can start reaching. All right, so there's strength and mobility happening at the same time here. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please go to movementprofessional.com. I'll see you next time.